The most sophisticated scam of modern life isn't failure. It's the sweet, seductive promise of success. Our culture whispers a toxic myth into your ear. Happiness is a destination. So you put your head down and you run, believing that once you cross the finish line of fame and fortune, fulfillment will be waiting for you. But for so many, the tragedy is this: when you finally break the tape, the only thing you find is an empty train station. This is the pathology report for a civilization that worships metrics and starves the soul. The story of the man who conquered the tech world only to lie helpless in a hospital bed isn't meant to make you cry. It's not a eulogy. It's a precise medical diagnosis for the lives many of us are leading right now. We're going to put that tragedy under a microscope, peel back the layers of glamour, and give you a prescription, so you never have to utter the words, "if only," when you reach your own finish line. Steve Jobs, the master architect of the Apple empire, was the uncrowned king of the tech world. His life was a symphony of perfectionism, a masterclass in bending reality to his will. He lived by the mantra of faster, higher, stronger, trading his health and simple peace for a place in the history books. But when the velvet curtain finally fell, something strange happened. After Jobs died, a letter supposedly containing his last words went viral. It included this haunting passage: "I can hire someone to drive my car. I can hire someone to make me money. But I cannot hire someone to bear my sickness. The most expensive bed in the world is the hospital bed." The truth? Steve Jobs never wrote a word of it. His actual last words, according to his sister Mona Simpson's eulogy, were far simpler and more cryptic. As he looked past his children, past his wife, and into the space beyond them, he repeated 3 times, "Oh wow, oh wow, oh wow." So why did the world invent and devour this fake letter? Why do we crave the story of a genius repenting his wealth? Because the forgery, while historically false, is psychologically true. It wasn't the voice of Steve Jobs. It was the echo of humanity's own deepest fears. We projected our anxieties onto the collapse of a titan to warn ourselves about our own frantic chase for success. We needed a myth to confess that the finish line is meaningless, so we could finally give ourselves permission to slow down. Even without the fake letter, the real-life tragedy of Steve Jobs is a masterclass that needs no fiction. In his official biography, Jobs didn't talk about money in his final days. He talked about regret for not being present enough during his children's lives. He wanted to write a book so his kids would understand what he did. Because, in his words, "I wasn't always there for them." This was the moment his famous reality distortion field finally collapsed. He realized his iron will could create the iPhone, but it couldn't command cancer cells to stop multiplying. The image of Steve Jobs on his deathbed is a brutal testament to the conflict between two selves. The resume self, brilliant, world-changing, a billionaire. The eulogy self, filled with regret, craving connection and peace. His death, and the myths we built around it, all point to one devastating truth. We spend our entire lives climbing the ladder of success, only to get to the top and realize it was leaning against the wrong wall. When you look deeper, the story of Steve Jobs isn't just a personal tragedy. It's a pathology report for the disease of our time, a civilization built on the blind worship of external achievement and the brutal neglect of our inner world. To understand why a mind that could see the future of technology fell into such a basic life trap, we must perform a surgical analysis, dissecting this tragedy through the lenses of neurobiology, depth psychology, and secular spiritual philosophy. The collapse of Steve Jobs was, first and foremost, a technical failure of his biological hardware. He wasn't cursed by fate. He was a victim of his own biochemical machinery, a machine designed by evolution for short-term survival, not long-term fulfillment. OBS didn't just love his work, he was clinically addicted to it. This addiction to fame and perfection runs on the exact same neural circuitry as an addiction to cocaine or gambling. Dopamine prediction error. Every time Jobs launched a world-changing product, his brain was flooded with dopamine. But modern neuroscience has proven that dopamine isn't the molecule of pleasure, it's the molecule of pursuit. It doesn't deliver satisfaction, it creates the craving for more. The scream for more, the moment the goal was achieved. His dopamine levels would crash. The brain didn't say, "Good job, rest now." The crash created a deficit signal, a neural scream of, "What's next? It has to be bigger." Hedonic adaptation. This is the cruelest part of the mechanism. Today's peak achievement quickly becomes tomorrow's new baseline. To get the same neurochemical high, Jobs had to pursue ever more insane goals. He was trapped on a hedonic treadmill, endlessly chasing a carrot he could never truly taste. This is the biological blueprint for the hungry ghost, an infinite stomach with a pinhole throat. Forever consuming but never satisfied. Your brain is a ravenous organ, consuming 20% of your body's energy. Jobs' lifestyle imposed a massive cognitive tax on this system. Sleep deprivation. Sleep is when the brain's glymphatic system flushes out toxic proteins. Jobs' chronic lack of sleep prevented this neural detox, keeping his brain in a state of low-grade inflammation. The gut-brain axis collapse. Over 90% of your serotonin, the neurotransmitter of contentment, well-being, and enoughness, is produced in your gut, not your brain. A high-stress lifestyle and erratic diet. His extreme fruitarianism could cause massive blood sugar dysregulation, devastated his gut microbiome. The consequence: when serotonin, the brakes, is depleted, the dopamine system, the accelerator, runs wild. He lost the biological capacity to feel at peace. His deathbed confession of not finding joy wasn't a poetic sentiment. It was a lab report on a nervous system bankrupt of serotonin. The greatest cognitive tragedy was that when diagnosed with a treatable cancer, Jobs refused surgery for 9 critical months, opting for unproven alternative methods. The prefrontal cortex betrayal. His mental operating system was built on a core belief: I am special. I can bend reality to my will. This reality distortion field helped him create the iPhone, but it was a death sentence when applied to his biology. He believed his will was stronger than a tumor. The failed hack. He tried to hack his body like he hacked a computer system. But biology has non-negotiable physical laws. This arrogance was a catastrophic failure in risk assessment, causing him to miss the golden window to save his own life. Behind the cold, tech tyrant, was a psychological structure riddled with fractures. From a psychoanalytic perspective, Steve Jobs' entire career was one massive defense mechanism. Jobs didn't just love his work, he was clinically addicted to it. This addiction to fame and perfection runs on the exact same neural circuitry as an addiction to cocaine or gambling. Dopamine prediction error. Every time Jobs launched a world-changing product, his brain was flooded with dopamine. But modern neuroscience has proven that dopamine isn't the molecule of pleasure, it's the molecule of pursuit. It doesn't deliver satisfaction, it creates the craving for more. The scream for more, the moment the goal was achieved. His dopamine levels would crash. The brain didn't say, "Good job, rest now." The crash created a deficit signal, a neural scream of, "What's next? It has to be bigger." Hedonic adaptation. This is the cruelest part of the mechanism. Today's peak achievement quickly becomes tomorrow's new baseline. To get the same neurochemical high, Jobs had to pursue ever more insane goals. He was trapped on a hedonic treadmill, endlessly chasing a carrot he could never truly taste. This is the biological blueprint for the hungry ghost, an infinite stomach with a pinhole throat. Forever consuming but never satisfied. Your brain is a ravenous organ, consuming 20% of your body's energy. Jobs' lifestyle imposed a massive cognitive tax on this system. Sleep deprivation. Sleep is when the brain's lymphatic system flushes out toxic proteins. Jobs' chronic lack of sleep prevented this neural detox, keeping his brain in a state of low-grade inflammation. The gut-brain axis collapse. Over 90% of your serotonin, the neurotransmitter of contentment, well-being, and enoughness, is produced in your gut, not your brain. A high-stress lifestyle and erratic diet. His extreme fruitarianism could cause massive blood sugar dysregulation, devastated his gut microbiome. The consequence: when serotonin, the brakes, is depleted, the dopamine system, the accelerator, runs wild. He lost the biological capacity to feel at peace. His deathbed confession of not finding joy wasn't a poetic sentiment. It was a lab report on a nervous system bankrupt of serotonin. The greatest cognitive tragedy was that when diagnosed with a treatable cancer, Jobs refused surgery for 9 critical months, opting for unproven alternative methods. The prefrontal cortex betrayal. His mental operating system was built on a core belief: I am special. I can bend reality to my will. This reality distortion field helped him create the iPhone, but it was a death sentence when applied to his biology. He believed his will was stronger than a tumor. The failed hack. He tried to hack his body like he hacked a computer system. But biology has non-negotiable physical laws. This arrogance was a catastrophic failure in risk assessment, causing him to miss the golden window to save his own life. Behind the cold, tech tyrant, was a psychological structure riddled with fractures. From a psychoanalytic perspective, Steve Jobs' entire career was one massive defense mechanism. We often confuse these two. Jobs had sky-high self-esteem, based on external validation and achievement. But his self-worth, the inherent belief that he was enough, was incredibly fragile. The primal wound. As an adopted child, despite being deeply loved by his adoptive parents, a subconscious feeling of being abandoned by his biological parents created a psychological black hole, a core feeling of not being good enough. Overcompensation. To fill this void, he was driven to become great. He didn't just work from passion, he worked to justify his existence. Every successful product was a temporary painkiller for the wound of rejection. He needed the world's applause to convince himself he was worthy of love. Carl Jung argued that we wear a persona, a social mask, to function in the world. But everything we reject about ourselves gets repressed into the shadow. Jobs' persona, the genius, the visionary, the revolutionary. He fully identified with this mask. He believed he was the mask. The rebellious shadow. Everything that didn't fit this image: vulnerability, fear, the need for intimacy, was brutally suppressed. But psychic energy is never destroyed. His repressed shadow would leak out in uncontrolled rages, cruelty to employees, and coldness to his own daughter. This wasn't strength, it was shadow possession. He became a fragmented man, a god on the keynote stage, a monster in his personal life. According to Jung, the ultimate goal of life is individuation, the integration of the persona and the shadow to become whole. Steve Jobs failed this journey. He spent 100% of his life energy polishing his golden mask while completely ignoring the wounded parts in the dark. The emptiness he felt on his deathbed was the cry of a starved soul that was never allowed to live as a complete, flawed, feeling human being. If biology reveals a depleted body and psychology exposes a wounded soul, secular philosophy, drawing from Buddhist and Stoic wisdom, reveals the core delusion at the heart of the human condition. Jobs was a textbook victim of the craving for becoming. He didn't just want to exist, he wanted to become an immortal icon. Resisting entropy. He tried to build a permanent material empire to defy the most fundamental law of the universe: constant flux, impermanence. He lived as if he were an eternal entity, stacking up fame and fortune as walls to protect his ego. The slap of reality. His realization that it all becomes meaningless in the face of death was the moment impermanence shattered his illusion. He realized he had bet his entire life on a game he was guaranteed to lose. He used transient things, money, fame, to seek a permanent state, peace. The equation had no solution. All of Jobs' suffering stemmed from his intense identification with the I, the ego. The illusion of a separate self. He believed Steve Jobs was an independent, superior entity. His cruelty came from an inability to see the connection between himself and others. The truth of interbeing. It was only at the end, when speaking of memories of love, that he touched the truth of interbeing, a term from Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh. The truth that I can only exist because of all the non-I elements, family, colleagues, customers. A person's true worth isn't in the size of their ego, but in the depth of their connection to the world. Steve Jobs was the king of conventional reality, the world of concepts. Success, failure, winning, losing. But he was utterly blind to ultimate reality, the truth of the empty, transient nature of all phenomena. He looked for happiness where it could never be found, in external objects. He tried to quench a spiritual thirst with the saltwater of fame. And the law is simple. The more saltwater you drink, the thirstier you become. That thirst destroyed him at the very peak of his glory. Jobs' final chapter isn't a cautionary tale to scare us. It's a treasure map, drawn in blood and tears, to help us avoid the same glittering dead ends. The problem isn't money or success. Those are neutral tools. The problem is the cognitive blind spot that turns the means, money, into the end, the meaning of life. To live a life of no regrets, you must practice a middle way. In the midst of our industrial hustle, still striving, but with an awakened mind. Here are 4 pillars to reprogram your life, starting today. Step 1. Re-diagnose success, the Two-Résumé audit. We live without a compass, pushed around by borrowed definitions of success. This protocol forces you to stop and confront the raw truth. The practice workbook. Take a piece of paper and draw a line down the middle. Column 1. Resume virtues. Write down what you strive for daily. The things you want on your LinkedIn profile. Examples. Make 6 figures. Get promoted to director. Buy a house before 30. Get praised by my boss. Column 2. Eulogy virtues. Now, imagine you're gone. Your most beloved person is giving your eulogy. What do you want them to say about you through their tears? Examples. He was always there when I needed him. She was a patient and warm mother. A person who listened without judgment. Someone who lived with kindness until the very end. The gap analysis. Now, look at both columns with brutal honesty. How many hours a day are you dedicating to column 1? Often 10 to 12 hours. How many hours to column 2? Often, whenever I have free time. The action. The gap between these 2 columns is the source of your future regret. Your mission isn't to abandon column 1, but to rebalance your portfolio of time. Start scheduling your eulogy virtues into your daily to-do list with the same priority as a business meeting. Step 2. Rewire your motivation. Flip the agency switch. Burnout isn't the result of working too hard. It's the result of working from a place of coercion, a feeling of, I have to. This mental resistance is a massive energy leak. The practice, mindset shift, when facing a difficult task, a sick child, a tight deadline, doing the dishes, your brain's default program is, I have to do this. This is exhausting. This is the energy of your subconscious programming, passive and reactive. Pause for 3 seconds, take 1 deep breath, and intentionally flip the switch to the energy of a vow. Change the mantra. I choose to do this, plus, for a higher reason. Example. Instead of, I have to listen to my kid crying. Tell yourself, I choose to be present with my child right now. Because I want them to feel safe and loved. This is a chance for me to practice patience. This shift from obligation to choice gives you back your sense of agency. You are no longer a victim of your circumstances, you are the creator of meaning. The task is the same, but the suffering vanishes. Step 3. Invest in timeless assets, the dual asset portfolio protocol. The tragedy of Jobs was a skewed portfolio, 100% invested in temporal assets, things that disappear when you die. You need to be a wiser investor. The practice. View your time as your capital. Allocate a portion of it to timeless assets, assets you take with you. Invest in wisdom, internal capital. Dedicate at least 30 minutes a day to mind food. Read philosophy, listen to insightful talks, or practice mindfulness meditation. This is a compound interest investment. The more you engage in mental training, the less you are shaken by external events. Invest in love, connection capital. Establish a digital detox hour every evening with your family. For 1 hour, all phones disappear. Practice deep presence. Look into your loved one's eyes. Truly listen. The rule. You cannot build deep relationships with shallow attention. The memories of love that Jobs craved are forged only in these moments of undivided presence. Step 4. Practice dying daily. The Memento Mori micro-practice. Steve Jobs only saw the truth when death had a knife to his throat. We are luckier. We can borrow the wisdom of death to enrich our lives right now. This is a core technique of both Stoicism and Buddhism. The practice. This is a 5-second micro-practice. Whatever you are doing, sipping your morning coffee, kissing your partner goodbye, calling your mother, let this one thought flash through your mind. If this were the last time I ever got to do this, how would I do it? This question is a weapon of mass destruction against indifference and autopilot living. The coffee will taste richer. The kiss will be more passionate. The call to your mom will be softer, free of irritation. The thought of death, Memento Mori, is not about being morbid. It is a tool to trigger radical gratitude. It reminds you that life is a gift, not a guarantee, and the only way to truly own your life is to live it fully, in this present moment. The life of Steve Jobs was a flawed masterpiece. He designed perfect devices but left behind a flawed design for a life. You don't have to be a billionaire genius to learn this lesson. And luckily, you still have time. The one luxury Jobs craved with desperation. Don't wait until you're lying in the world's most expensive bed to realize how poor you've been. Don't wait for a doctor's grim diagnosis to start nodding yes to simple joys. Don't wait for the destination to find your happiness. Remember, life isn't about arriving at the grave in a well-preserved body. It's about skidding in sideways, covered in mud, thoroughly used up, totally worn out, and screaming, "Wow, what a ride!" Happiness is not at the station. It's on the tracks, right under your feet, right now. Live, and more importantly, love, starting now. Nemo, from Iron Lotus Mind.